Hey, what's going on, man? It's been a while. How are you?
And I just was closing up, and then right as I went to press Q, I realized someone was in here. What's up with
Can't
you?
really hear you clearly, man.
Oh, I know why. Yeah, the microphone on those headphones is trash.
Okay, now it's clear.
Gay bitches.
Yeah, I haven't changed my username in like over a year, so I've been super busy.
Um, yeah, we can't keep that one.
Okay, feel free to change it.
Now you better use her
So what's
name.
up with you? So what's up with you, man? It's been forever.
Nothing. I got a headache today. Just working until I break through, or not, or die. You know.
hmm
Anything
So what do you
guaranteed isn't really worth achieving.
so what are you working on?
Uh, I mean, the secret to all that's in the 45,000 videos I have on YouTube. Um, I just kind of mine ideas, really. Like, I don't have like a specific strategy that I've embraced moving forward. Every day I wake up and I calculate what I can do, and I do it. And the way things have been for a long, long time, I just mine ideas. I just plow through thoughts and ideas and words until I find new shit, and then I try to connect it back to the old shit. I'm doing work that's completely unnecessary, though, other than without that work, I would die. Like, I would probably fucking die without that work. So, um, but I don't need more ideas for trying to build a great city, right? Or a great you to say to try to build a great or a universal city, like a university to change the paradigm in people's minds in terms of like what's possible, like how can you actually live? Are we remotely limited by the mechanisms by our history? Like, do we have to live like this? We don't. Maybe most of us do, but there's one thing is certain. There's like thousands or millions of different like little demographics of humanity, and maybe you can't save them all. Maybe there's a limited amount you can do in your lifetime, and even with your work after you're dead. But maybe there are small groups of people who are on the same sentence. Maybe they're on the same page. Some of them are in the same
hmm
chapter, and there's people that are in the same book as you. Like if you play the ultimate game that the AI creates one day, and like you'll find out that there's 7 people in the world who, in terms of their desires, are fucking exactly like you. Like exactly like you. Like you guys have exactly the same, and you might hate them. I mean, I have no idea like how you feel about those people. But if you wanted to do something, you'd be able to like figure out what it is that you want to do, right? You'd figure out your dream, and then you'd run it through computers, and they'd say, is there anybody out there that I can do this with? Like, is there sufficient compatibility with real human beings that I can take this stupid bank account I have and move it into an investment that I believe will make my life drastically better. A lot of entrepreneurs do that. Like they go all in on some problem that other people are afraid to challenge, and then they get rich as fuck. I mean, like Musk or Vanderbilt, and it's hard for people to do that. Like you're kind of adult. I mean, you're kind of young as fuck, right? But um, I need a breath. Oh, that felt good. I just had some joints pop. Individually,
That's
like
good.
you're kind of like you are you, right? You maybe you belong, you're connected to your mother and father and your brothers or some shit, but there's no larger economic entity that you connect to, right? Like there's nothing. I mean, a bank, but you're just a user, like you're just a user who's getting taxed by the bank. There's no real genuine connection or connections between you and the bank. Moving forward, I hate money so much. Like I hate what it does to people so much, and like what poverty does to people so much, that I have no interest in being an independent economic entity. Like I don't want to have my own bank accounts at all. I don't want to own fucking anything. I want to own one share of a venture that has human intelligence and is better than anything on the planet today, and say there's nothing that I can do more efficiently by myself than I can do in conjunction with a human union, a consumer union, whatever you want to call it, that in probably a thousandth of a second can at least look at what I've done, right? Like buy 50,000 Bitcoin. At least go through that and look at it, right? Because like nobody looks at what my father does. He's got a few million. Nobody looks at what he does. Like he's got nobody like looking over his shoulder. There's no mentor. There's no community. There's no union. It's just this one fucking guy dealing with all this stupid shit. And that's what businesses do every day. Like that's why you're in school. Like that's why businesses do what they do, is to get people to be able to do those things. When you do those things at work, you do them efficiently. When you do them at home, you're an idiot. Like, and that's like probably half of all the profits in the world is just the fact that people are so, they have their cock sucked so deeply by for profits that they can't do anything. Like they can't make anything. They can't get anything except for by selling their labor for cash, or I guess like Bitcoin or something, or gold, and then trading that to some other company. And they're like, well, wait, the core of your existence is for profit, right? And they're like, yeah. Like, so you don't give a shit about me, no, or the product, no, not at all. Like it doesn't even matter. It only matters insofar as it serves their ability to say, we have money and we're old, and in every transaction that we do with you, we're going to apply a capitalist tax. And we're basically going to suck most of the planet dry doing it. And we say, oh, we can go, but we have a colony on Mars. Well, like, the only reason we needed a colony on Mars is because you sucked the planet dry.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah, I mean, especially the part where like money like fucks the way people think and the way they see things. You know, like I absolutely hate money as well. Like,
You own other people's labor, like kind of, right? Unless the system breaks, you people are like your servants. The poorer people, you can just give them those numbers and make them do what you want.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And like when people start getting money, like the money just goes right into their head. Like, for example, you give a regular what's it called? Not a wealthy person, but a middle class citizen, a couple $1 million. Like the money's just gonna straight away hit their head. You know, like they'll just start buying, wasting their money on shit that they don't need, rather than thinking before they buy. You know.
It's free dumb.
Yeah, I know, but that's what
No,
people do nowadays.
no,
You
it's
know,
dumb.
like
Freedom makes people stupid. Like freedom in a world when you then have no passion to attach to anything of meaning, it's almost worse than anything. Like murdered, you're just murdering it. Like you have freedom, and because there's nothing really good, you do the dumbest shit. Like you act like a monkey, and you work all day just so when you're, like letting someone tell you what to do, just so when you get home you can act like a monkey. You're kind of like, I don't have to care about anything that matters. I did my job. I have my money. I'm free. Dumb. It's fine. Like I guess part of freedom is the freedom to be fucking stupid and to be asleep and to live like a fucking sheep. But like that's what America did to most people in this country, and probably is on its way to doing to most people in the world. I mean, Britain started it, right? Like fucking China started it, fucking Iraq started it. Like people don't know what the fuck to do. Like they have no idea what the fuck to do. And the options that we offer them, like occupationally, come on, like what 88% of jobs are terrible. Like 88% of jobs are so bad that we want robots, right? We absolutely, like a lot of people be like, I'd rather be poorer and not do this stupid fucking job, right? I'd rather be poorer because I'm using most of my money to pay a robot to do it, but not do the job, right? I'll take less fucking money. Like I'll spend 80% of my income just to pay this robot to do the job. So even though I'm poor, I'm free. And a person in that situation might be like, well, I got 50 or 80 years left to live. Maybe I'll do something with that freedom. And to really do something with your freedom, you have to kind of like give it up. You can't just say I'm totally free. You have to commit yourselves to things, and that starts to take away your freedom. But as long as it starts with freedom, right? If you're free and you have a choice to make sacrifices to try to expand freedom, it's still freedom. If you're forced to make sacrifices, it's not. And freedom would beget freedom much faster if it wasn't for how amazing some of our technology and products and Netflix. Like if it wasn't for all of that shit, things might change really quickly. But we produce so much amazing shit to let us deal with our existential bullshit that's all maybe that like or to let us avoid dealing with all the shit that we haven't dealt with. That's all we'll end up doing, and that's scary. Like I like toys, I like to fly airplanes and all that. Like there's a lot of fun shit in the world, but if by doing that you're burning down the planet, and the next closest planet is like, I mean, what does it take to get to Mars? Like a year?
2 years, 2 years.
2 years? Years. I mean, years go by fast, but fuck.
But to send humans to Mars is a pretty big deal because you need to transport resources and stuff. It's a huge thing, like transporting.
I mean, the weird thing, like, is a sperm is alive, right?
Yep.
A sperm is it's gotta be right. Like, they're like a human baby isn't alive. A sperm is fucking alive. Like, it's not a person. It's not a sperm person, and the egg is fucking. It's not a dead cell, right? It's a living. And don't females have all their eggs like when they're very young? Like, I think those eggs just are in them like alive for 100 years. I don't think I gotta look this up because if this is wrong, then I'm like sharing bad information. But
I'm pretty sure they die.
well, after they fail to have a baby, the egg dies. But I'm saying, like, do they actually make eggs every month?
No, I think when they have their period,
They're born with all
eggs
their.
go
They're
along.
born with all of them, dude.
No, they have 2 eggs, as far as I know.
No. They have the ovary contains between 1 to 2 million eggs, right? And
Okay.
they can't make new eggs.
Oh, I see. Okay. I
But
didn't
those
know that.
eggs live for 50 years.
Mhm.
Like, what the fuck? Like, what cells live for 50? I don't think any of them are like. I mean, are your neuron like your cells? I mean, a lot of cells die, right? But like maybe what your eggs don't die, your brain cells they don't have. Do they just never die? Are they like until you die? I mean, they can't.
No, like I think when it comes to certain cells, they regenerate, and so like when the old ones die, the new ones regenerate.
Yeah, but I don't. Is that? Oh, that's wicked. I mean, there is all this information. I've never really used Google for like knowledge. Do neurons die? And although neurons are the longest living cells in the body, large numbers of them die during migration and differentiation. It means that they move around amongst each other. It's just weird that like. I mean, those eggs can live 50 years in an ovary, right? If they can live 50 years in an ovary, then they can live.
Yeah.
They could live 50 years in a shielded spaceship, probably without much of a problem. So you can fly 50 years. Actually, wait. If they can live for 50 years, they might just be able to live forever. Maybe the eggs can live forever, just like they want a sperm so much.
Who knows, man? Like,
Why do they have
perhaps
millions
yeah,
of
with
them?
like maybe with the right incubation, yeah. Maybe
I
with
mean, the
the
thing is,
right
we have
incubation, yeah.
so few of our children ever end up with any freedom at all, and like I worry about like people who really suffer, and and that can be through like disabilities and shit, like whatever. People who really suffer, and 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 then the people who are super talented, like, and it's not that there are people who suffer a ton and are super talented, but it's generally kind of two separate groups. People who like you want to save from this horrible experience, and then you look, well, which people can help you the most? What if you want to change the world so that we can use a little bit more of our intelligence to truly minimize the suffering of others. Then I guess you go to like gifted people. You go to freaks, people with very like weird big brains, and I guess it might be viable for us to say one in every human child from now on is going to randomly selected to live like Socrates, right? We could randomly select 1 in 100. Every person would end up paying, 1.01% of their money each year. 1%, so that 1 in 100 people were completely free. Like something would happen, right? If you like, you'd have 80 million people who, for the most part, were working with their brains, but didn't have to generate any money from doing it. So there'd be all this different work, and people do this in universities and shit. There is some of it, kind of. But if you say, well, no, we really want to solve these problems, let's not do this for everybody. Let's create a prize in the world and say, do you know any fucking brilliant people? Like China does this relatively well, but like, do you know any brilliant people? Anyone, right? I don't care if you like them or not. Do you know any? Because we have to find them, and we're not going to pick 1 in 100 regular people. Like, we're going to pick 1 in 100 as close as we can get to like the biggest brain of the whole fucking group, and say, you're the ones. Like, and people will probably hate you. Like, you're geniuses, right? Like, you're brilliant kids. You're being plucked from a life of capitalism in order to live on some kind of utopian university campus, right? Like, if the people of the world realized it would suck their dick enough, they'd give $1 a day to pay for the university, and the kids in the university would live for free. And the entire process of human history would probably be, what do the other communities in the world do to try to catch up? Like you can go visit these places if you can get a ticket, but like you still have to go home, right? And you live in a 2022 village, like you and if they were good, if they were free, if they were enlightened, I'd be happy. And I'm not. Like, so it doesn't work. Because even if you build happiness, if your neighbor is fucking ignorant and oppressed and a servant and unfree, it doesn't matter. Like, especially if you're raised with any kind of like ethical thing that might connect to some religious fantasies. Like, if you are happy when some like truly happy and someone else is unfree, and your happiness is not derived from finding and breaking whatever chains prevent them from living their own life in the same way, then you're garbage. Not garbage, but I mean garbage. Like a person who's completely trapped is better than you. If you have freedom and you don't do anything with it, you're definitely like, if you run a simulation and check the data, you're a worse person than the average person who's trapped in, I mean, I'd say China, but I think a lot of people in China are actually somewhat, they might average as happy as we are. Like, it's not like we get the whole truth, and we don't get the whole truth. I mean, I think they get much less truth, but like, I don't know, if you have 8 billion happy people in the world without like co-optimized human intelligence, without chi or something, like the world dies in every simulation. Like every fucking simulation, our greed destroys the earth. And then, I mean, that's probably why they have so many dystopian movies, right? It's very easy to make a movie about like what shit looks like after you burn it. Like, that's scary shit though, because those are the stories that are in people's minds. You'd be like, tell me, how many dystopian stories have you read or watched? And how many utopian stories have you read or watched? And it's always like entirely dystopian stories. Dark, and that shit's in your brain. It's in your brain. Your brain's amazing, but it doesn't have time to fully qualify, is Ready Player One, like, is all that data fake or is it real? It kind of goes into your brain as information. I mean, you think about it, like, you know that it's just a movie, but like, I don't know. I wish everybody knew that. I wish they knew that they didn't know. I wish even like all the believers woke up tomorrow and they're like, you know what? I may believe this, but I definitely don't know this. Like, I definitely don't know this. I believe it, but I don't know. And that's kind of the first step. Like when I argue, like I used to spend very small amounts of time arguing with theists, especially like Western theists, almost exclusively Western theists actually. And they have to know. They have to know what is unknowable. So you don't talk to them. Like you don't talk to them. You just don't talk to people who know God. Um, Unless they're drastically more entertaining than other people who know God. And there aren't very many. Like people on here get caught for years talking about Jesus. It's I think I don't know. What do you think is what is your worldview in terms of the origin of the universe and life?
Mm, origin of the universe and life. I guess the Big Bang Theory.
That's the TV show is the center of your life.
No, 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 no. The Big Bang Theory is it's an actual theory of how the Earth was formed.
I know.
The TV show was named after it. Like, yeah, so like that's how I believe the Earth was formed because that's what science says. I guess you could say God made the Earth, but I don't know. And,
Wait, just the Earth?
oh,
I
like the
mean,
universe, like
can you imagine? Just imagine something that powerful, like to like snap his fingers or his penis or his eyelid, and just all of the shit that we see or think that we see, and he's controlling it. Like he has a grip on what's happening, and yet it's
mhm.
all happening according to like laws that can be predicted. Right? We never actually see miracles. Really, I don't think God would be so bored because he'd have, he'd have control over something over which he had no control. Like he had no control because he would violate his own shit. So to me, the only way it works is if he killed himself. Like the only way it works is if this is just like God. And I don't believe in God, right? But like if all's God, then y'all's God, and all's God, so y'all's God, and if y'all's God, then probably all's God. Um, and whatever that is, I mean, you look around the room you're in, and you cannot fathom the amount of energy that's trapped. You know, you cannot fathom the amount of energy. Like, you could fathom it maybe, but like the amount of energy that's trapped to make this shit that matters, you know, it's fucking
Mhm.
insane. I mean, it's insane. It's just trapped, like from, and it used to be even more trapped, right? Like it was packed. It was packed like Tetris at the Big Bang, perfect Tetris,
Mhm.
and then like
Yeah.
scaled out by numbers we can't fathom, and then like some areas like things like start to stick together. Um, and you want to think like is it randomness that like all the probably like millions or billions of individual mutations that allowed like a sperm and an egg to fuck um and create us, like is that it's like you think if it's determined, is it written? Like it's not written if it's determined. If it's just gonna happen, it doesn't. I mean, you could project forward and run the equations and say, oh, this is gonna happen, but it's not really written. It's just what's going to happen. Verse because this is what God is, which is crazy, right? But no crazier than the other versions. Or versus a situation when somebody actually wrote the story, like where they didn't like God either wrote this into existence or he either magically cast us into existence, and that's not even considering where it came from. Either magically cast us into existence he gave he gave up himself. Like he used to be something like and he just let go. And when he let go, I mean that's just what we are. Is the God after he let go. And there, I don't know about with you, people be like, if you love something, set it free. If you love something, set it free. You can't control something that you love, right? You can't control it. right? Like love is not control. It might be the opposite of control. So God,
So how
God
do you
couldn't love.
believe the
He couldn't love
yeah?
himself.
So how do you feel? So that's your take on how the Earth is formed, like oh the universe, right?
Pretty much. And
That's an interesting take.
it's easier to take.
Yeah, that's
It's easier to take for me if you are like literally in a fucking Sudanese refugee camp right now and like waiting and there's 40 kids ahead of you trying to get water. You might not think that, you know? Like you might not have the luxury to think and believe something like that. For me, it's a little easier because my like what I like where I was born in space time is it was so fucking anomalous, like so extra anomalous. Versus like most people are just born on Earth and they do not have any kind of a fucking special life. I mean, it's special because it's unique, but like even if we could remember infinite names, like how many names of people would we actually remember? Like 1,000, 10,000. Like most people are just born onto like on the board game in a place where the only way they're going to escape that is if somehow the random or predetermined code in their fucking brain or their body is extraordinary. Like something about like if the environment is terrible, something else has to be different, right? And it's probably not some kind of spirit, you know, or like it's probably not like you have a spirit and you have like your position in the world, what kind of brain you have, and then your Holy Spirit. Like it seems like there's probably nothing else there, or like there's nothing different in you than is in me, except in where we are in the universe, and the exact code we're running, which is very influenced by the last decades, right? Like your code is very shaped by, you know, shit your parents did, shit your government does, shit your school does, shit, you know, your code is very shaped by passing through, you know, by being. But it's got to be the same shit. We're not the same person, but like we were the same person. But we didn't know it.
actually
Like
yeah.
you can't
Speaking
get.
of things,
Go ahead.
yeah. No, like I was just saying, like speaking of things, like fuck the school system, man. That shit's
Well,
like
I mean, some
fucked
of them are
up, you
better than
know.
others, though, right? If you like, some of them are probably pretty decent. Like,
No, like have you seen the ones in Finland? Like those schools, like actually bring out the best in those kids. Like they're making the people of the future. While like other schools, especially in Asia, are just taking things back, you know, like backwards in time. Like so it's like the world isn't progressing, it's actually moving back if you think about it. Like there are a few very intelligent people in this world, like who are innovating, like Elon Musk, for example. Most people are just studying, like they just spend their time memorizing a textbook, hoping to get a job behind a desk that pays well. You know, like it's just not improving. You know, the world.
Finland, Sweden, like some of these countries are very, even though they're close to Russia, they're very lucky countries, and like they're probably leading us, like in the real world, you know, they're leading us, and then like China's chasing us, right? Like China wants to be the hegemonic power, to have the hegemony, but we're chasing them. Like we want, it seems like if there's a we, you know, we would rather have a peaceful, happy state where like mothers and kids were you know, were especially children were fucking taken care of. Partially just because it's selfishly super efficacious. Like if you take care of your children properly, I mean, first of all, you're still going to be alive for many years while they're alive, but they are the ones. Like the better you make people, the better the world gets. And I mean, we are going backwards, I think, in some respects when it comes to our education system. I think it's similar in a lot of ways to when I was a kid. Um, I don't know. It depends on what school you're in, really. There's schools that are so good for kids, and not even just fit like in America and you know, in China. There's like there are schools that have kind of partially by accident they get it right, or like whatever the algorithm is, the combination of human beings that end up working there just like you know, you are where you are, plus with the code that you have, in certain circumstances, and we could learn from that, right? That's what I'm trying. Like, I think what we're actually trying to do is to build a school, um, that like is also a city. You know, like it's a school. It's primarily a school, but it also, in order to learn, like we're not going to build a country, right? Like we're not going to build a fucking country. So, and maybe it would be a village or something, but and to show them like this, we are maybe we hope to be the most intelligent venture in the history of existence, and owned by people from all over the world, and it's voluntaristic, and it's um, but we don't even know what we're doing, right? Like we have all this information, sure. We're all people, sure. We've agreed upon a constitution that allows us to move forward, sure. But like we don't want to build Paris. Like we've been around the world, right? If you and traveling can be really valuable to show you what's wrong, as well as some good shit. But we know that the way we're doing it is pretty fucking terrible, and that you can say truly America is free. It's also way the fuck too expensive, right? Like it's free, but it's too expensive. If everybody could afford what America had, the world would probably be fine. Like if everyone could really afford it, and a lot of Americans are actually relatively
Mm.
poor. But if the whole world could afford everything that we did per person, which is 20 times the cost of America, you kill the planet, right? Like you just can't. Our freedom is too expensive. But there are
Mhm.
ways to be free. It's just not unconditional, right? Like you can't have unconditional freedom. You can't have unconditional anything, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like it's all conditional. Like God had to kill himself, or like we had to kill ourselves, or it, or like order had to be let go of. And it's very weird for me because if the world is as deterministic as it seems to be, like the body and the mind of God, or the universe is exactly what it is, and it always has been what like it's always been what it is. It's always been the truth. Like we don't understand it, but it's always been what it is. Um, and after 13.8 billion years of not a lot, that we can that anybody can see. Um, I mean, beautiful shit, but all utterly non-choice based, right? Like no freedom, like freedom in the totality, like God let go, but none of those particles had a choice. Like they did exactly whatever the fuck they had to do in the context of the overall family of particles or waves or whatever the fuck, whatever the fucking thing is. Um, I think I'm lost.
No, not really. I get what you mean. Yeah. Like.
My life is very weird. That's what I'm saying. And you're like, just, I don't know much about you, but just knowing me all by itself makes your life drastically weirder from my perspective.
I mean, from my perspective, let's go back to about 2 years ago. Okay.
All right.
You with me?
Fuck. I'm all right.
Okay. So let's go back to 2 years ago. I randomly find Discord. Okay. In 2020, yeah. 2020, I randomly find Discord because a friend introduced me to the app. Then, after a few months, I discover this website which has a bunch of server listings. So, like, where you can find servers and meet people with similar interests, for example. So, I search servers with voice chat, and I find the entry point server, which is Landmore server. Back then, I don't know who owns it right now, but that's where I find. Then I find you. Then I meet you. Then I meet everyone else. So I guess everything has its own story. I won't say it's weird for me knowing you or to be speaking to you. I guess it's just a coincidence or like one thing leading to the another, you know.
Yeah, but like, if I'm right, if we're like, then the opportunity exists, and it's an opportunity it's not certain anyone will ever take, or it is certain. Maybe it is certain, and even everything that I do, I have to, like I have to do it, and yet it could be like it could be so consequential that like to describe that future to people would make me look solipsistic as fuck. Like not a narcissist. It would make me look like narcissus without the T. Like the actual being, the fictional being, I guess, upon which the idea of narcissism was built. But that's not my fault. Like I didn't. I mean, it is my fault, right? Because if we all come from the same place, then we're all really the same thing, and I'm just speaking from a different time and place, um, with a slightly different array, like as in a brain. But like I'm looking at the desert right now, the Sahara, and there's a much higher chance that humanity ends up with an almost not limitless, but effectively limitless supply of hydrogen because of my tiny, tiny, tiny journey over which I had no control. Like that the desert will be turned into a source of water and hydrogen and salt and glass and algae. Like that the Sahara Desert will literally be able to grow a trillion new algae cells a second. A trillion a
Mm-hmm.
second over and like and then store them, right? Instead of storing carbon dioxide, right? Like we're gonna store absolutely vacuum sealed. We talked about this probably way. I don't know, bricks of fucking algae grown in glass spheres. Like the world may. I really love looking at the desert. By the way, I don't know if you can see my screen, but it's pretty fucking crazy. Like the whole thing. Like God did not control this. There's no like the only
Let
way
me
any of this makes
let me
sense
check
is
this.
if God let
Okay,
go.
I see.
The only way it makes sense is if God let go. There's still like look at that. Like God did not draw that. That is God. Like and on the left side it looks like there's a pterodactyl eating like a one I don't know, maybe a bear cub with one ear. I can't even tell, but it's a pretty freaky picture. Um the Sahara is fucking crazy. Like that's multiple countries. Like the people like and Libya is just like right in the middle of the. I don't know what the fuck that is. What is that? Like, I mean, Libya is big, like huge, but the word Libya is like in this. Like, wouldn't it be kind of fun to just like land there? Like, I don't know, like to be in space, like to be flying around the Earth and be like, yo, land there. Because once you're up in space, you can kind of come down anywhere, right? Like, you don't, like, you have a great degree of control over when you re enter. So, like anything that's in space, like Amazon delivering from space can probably do like really amazing shit, and that's gonna happen, right? Like, I mean, I don't know if we're ever gonna be able to like if we have to launch rockets into space for every donut. I tend to think the emissions from those rockets are gonna cause a problem. Like they're gonna
I
change
mean,
the patterns of sand
the
in the
way,
desert.
like perhaps, yeah, if they start using eco-friendly, reusable rockets that rely on sustainable and renewable fuel, then it could
How?
work
Sure,
out.
but how?
Maybe.
Yeah, if it's renewable, fine. We could send up a million rockets a day. But can we do that? Like,
Yeah, maybe not in our lifetime, but in the future's lifetime. Like in like maybe in a couple hundred years. Hopefully, if if humans still exist and they haven't gone extinct from all the bullshit drama they're always dealing with, and they focus too much on unnecessary shit. We need to focus on being sustainable right now. Like not focusing on how much smaller we need to make our phones or how much thinner our phone should be, or like what we carry. For example, like I have access to the whole internet, which is everything on this world, in a device that's the size of my palm. Like we don't need to focus on making those smaller or thinner. We don't need to focus on improving screens on that. We don't need to focus on improving random unnecessary shit, or like how many fucking gold chains can you make. Like we don't need that shit. We need to focus on improving the earth and making it more sustainable,
well, I mean,
make
there's
it a
no
better
way, but
place.
some way should do that. Like, and for me, like, the only way to do that is it's to figure out the initial the algorithms. Like, you can't get to the ultimate. You can't get to the ultimate, but you can create the algorithms which Homo sapiens can then propagate almost exponentially. Like if we build something, anything, like just say it's a globe and it's 30 feet in diameter and it's just an aquarium. Like if we build that, but somehow the effects of that in the first place we build it are tremendously say people, it's like a wishing well, right? It's a wishing earth, and people start putting money into it. Like if that happens and people are like, yo, I want to put another dollar in, right? I want to put a dollar in and I want to say something to the future. If that happens and it works, then like literally next year it's possible that you could build 999 more of those in the real world in like the major fucking cities, like kind of like that. And then one, I mean, whatever one could do, like, because the world will probably come from seeds, right? Like great ideas, all the great ideas we've ever had, they come from not lies but fiction. Like you have to tell a story of a thing before it exists to make it come
Exactly.
true.
Yeah.
Like so it's all invented. It's all gonna be shit that we came up with, and then some of those ideas in a modified evolutionary system grow to extraordinary proportions. And most of the countries in the world, almost all of them, if you have a business and it doesn't threaten them too much, that like they will let you build a Burger King in all the cities of China. Like they will let you build an aquarium in all the cities of China. Like there's a lot of shit where you could in the private sector build something that was everywhere. Now, then maybe in science fiction you say, okay, well we now have an aquarium, these aquariospheres, pure glass spheres, the craziest aquariums people have ever seen in all the capital cities of the world. I mean, I think whatever those aquariums did exactly, whatever it was, and we're just using aquarium, like it doesn't, we're not saying it does anything, there's no specificity. If you imagine a world when a new country's born, or like something is born that is not entirely private sector, right? Like some kind of layer on the planet, like a group of people who say we're proposing, an absolute restarted alternative virtue earth. And someday in the future, we hope that the people of the world vote at an 88.7% rate to just switch systems, right? To migrate from Ethereum 1 to Ethereum 2 or whatever. You don't have to knock down the factories. You don't have to kill people. Like a system like that would be very intelligent and would probably have a worldwide data academy blockchain that knew every single productive structure in the world, right? Every fucking window,
Yeah.
every factory, every solar, like everything that we own or everything that's on the planet, like could be seen and quantified. Like people could like look at a world and be like, a lot of them be like, no, I love Libya. But more and more of the younger kids would play Virtue Earth and they'd create different countries, right? Like they I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they would like draw lines, but ultimately you kind of want none, right? In one sense, when it comes to planetary and humane rights, you
Yeah.
wouldn't want any lines, like zero lines in the sand. All the people of the world are forbidden from engaging in genocide, like, and the only kind of genocide you commit if like an army appears, right? And that army is 100% made of soldiers who are trying to kill everyone on the planet, you could genocide those soldiers because every single one of them has promised to just kill. So you could genocide an army, but not a people. But like it's just not allowed. Like we have, and people be like, oh, you're gonna have problems. How do you enforce it? And be like, well, we have drones, of course. And they're like, yeah, sure, you have drones, but like, what if the drones just take over? And they'll be like, well, the one thing the drones have always been forbidden from doing is carrying like fatal ammunition. Like they all carry tranquilizers. They can't kill people, right? They cannot kill people. And if they want to blow up a thing, they actually have to sacrifice their own life, right? So if one of these drones is flying around like North Korea and it realizes, oh shit, fucking this guy's launching, right? Like the drone has to fly, has to communicate with the other drones, examine all the sound in about a tenth of a second, and immediately start flying towards the nearest ICBM, right? And ICBMs take several seconds to get going, right? Like they don't, an ICBM doesn't just launch and appear in space. Like they're within 1,000 feet of the ground for like several fucking seconds, and the drone would just have to fly up to it and attach and kill itself. And they don't want to do that, right? Like the drones don't want to do that, and they don't even want to shoot people with tranquilizer darts. They can't even shoot people with tranquilizer darts unless their operating system is activated by 12, minimally 12 worldwide citizens of all the citizens in the world who are called randomly on their watch or on their headset, and all of a sudden they're like, fuck, I'm in a jury. Like I'm in a live jury right now. And you see what's happening, and you just like you click the blue button. Like if you're like this guy's gonna kill this child, right? Like I'm sure, and you just press the button, and the drone shoots him in the chest with an electrochemical trank that immediately disables him. It's not gonna kill him. 1 in 1,000 people might die, but then you've stopped a violent act, and the system by which you asked for permission is completely decentralized. Like it would be 12 people that absolutely have to be in 12 different countries, right? If there are still countries, and it would have to be people who have no connection to those other people. Like the network doesn't even know who you are, right? All it knows is that you're a human, and that you're always the same human. Like that's all it has to know.
Yeah, yeah.
But you can also like tell it, like you can also give it data that allows it to know who, with whom can you combine to make a decentralized jury. And I think in some cases it might be like, okay, the world has got no real government, right? There's a constitution in various languages, or maybe there's actually a new language that's been formed just to state like these basic rights that nobody fucks with, right? Like if these things are violated, all the economic system of the world shuts down, right? Like all the movie theaters shut down, all the arcades shut down, Fortnite shuts down. It all shuts down, right? If any of the human rights triggers are violated, all the games stop, or all the games have a switch flipped when you become a soldier, right, on the earth in the exact location where you're sitting at your computer, right? So actually, like everybody's in the game, but they're like, wait, I'm here? And it's like, yeah, because there's some real world shit happening. You can go back in the game, but like it's not a game right now, right? Like there's a fucking, do you hear the siren? Right? And the siren might go on for 100 years. Like people build a system and be like, there's still more. Like there's more people that are just trapped. There's more people who live under warlords. And we have to kill all the warlords. Right? Like you have to either kill or tranquilize and dose with mescaline all the warlords. Like China might be a problem. We can have a totally free planet, and the corporation, the organization, the so-called Communist Party that runs China could maintain absolute control. Like they could become brutal. Like I think taking Taiwan's insane because it's like trying to take the world's most beautiful egg for yourself with a bomb. Like what? Like you can't take it. Like if you take it, it's not going to be Taiwan. Like anymore. And I wonder what it would cost for Taiwan to just build a ship. Like some people in Taiwan got to be like, wait a minute, we're smart as fuck. Even though they came from nationalists, right? Like the mainland China is the communists, and Taiwan is like Chiang Kai-shek. It's like the Chinese nationalist. And I guess in the absence of a better world, like nationalism probably seems cool. Like I think there's a time when I was younger, I'm like, I'm proud to be an American. And like I'm blessed to be an American, but I'm not really as proud. Not because we've done so much bad, but because there's like so much more good to do. And I look to the board of directors and the CEO and the president of the company America, and it's just, I mean, whatever. I haven't looked remotely into this $300,000 they're spending on like electric cars and shit, but I don't. It's gonna make some people a little extra rich, and it's gonna fuck some people over. But like 300 billion, it's not nothing. I mean, it's not the 2 trillion. Like, hey, we have a virus, blah blah blah. That's it. We're just gonna take out a big loan. we're just gonna inflate the money and give out fucking 2,000 billion.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think people should have to say thousand first. Like if you're talking about $100, you should have to be like 0.1 thousand.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like for for a million, you'd be like, wait, I'm so high, I don't even fucking. Oh, thousand. It's a thousand
Yeah.
thousand. It's a
By the way, man,
thousand thousand.
it's really late here. I gotta go head off to bed. It's like 2:30
No, good.
a.m.
It's good
It
to see
was
you. It's
amazing.
good to see you.
Yeah, I had a great conversation, man. I'll definitely stop by tomorrow. Amazing. Stay safe.
All right,
Take
super.
care of yourself. Peace.
Thank you for your service. Nerds.